Hi everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas and spending lots of time with your friends and your family and your puppies and your kitties. Zena wanted me to add that part in there. Anyway, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. It is Sunday at 4 o'clock, so you deserve some true crime if you want some true crime. What I have for you today is a story called Roofman. This is something I streamed a little while ago, but I think it's perfect for Christmas because, well, first of all, nobody dies, which is great on Christmas. Also, there's a little bit of a Christmas tie-in at the end, so see if you can spot that. I hope you all have a very happy holiday season, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. I guess let's get into it. So we're going to be talking about Jeffery Allen Manchester, and for once on my channel, we are not talking about someone who is a murderer, which is unusual because I think every other case that I've covered has some sort of murder involved. This case does not. This guy's a serial robber, I guess you would say. Yeah, he likes to rob places, specifically fast food restaurants. And his MO was to rob McDonald's, and he would rob McDonald's over and over and over again because they're all laid out the same. So it's kind of like, like when you move into a new house and you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and when it's new, you kind of, you stumble around, you don't know your way around. But once you've lived there for 15 years, you could just get up in the middle of the night with your eyes closed and find the bathroom and not think twice about it. So he would rob McDonald's because they're all laid out the same. They all had the same procedures, so like opening and closing procedures, and he would always rob these places either at opening or closing. Do a little adjustment. Like I was saying when I first came on, it's a whole new setup today, so I'm hoping things go better. I did get a new computer, so I know the last stream that I did had a lot of lag when I was showing videos and stuff like that, so I'm hoping that this goes a little smoother this time, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure you guys will tell me in the chat. I see PJ's here. PJ, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. And I think I already said hello to everyone else. So, Jeffery Allen Manchester robbed McDonald's, and he was a sneaky fella. So, let's get my notes in front of me, and we'll get going. So, like I said, I thought this was going to be a short case. I did my notes this morning or this afternoon. This morning and this afternoon, I guess. But 8 pages this time. So it's not the 11 pages for the Brown's Chicken Massacre or like the 20 pages last week. But it's definitely not going to be as short as I thought it was. So he was born in California, and he was a typical suburban kid. He was born in... he grew up in like a typical suburb, and let's see what I wrote here. Middle-class suburban California. He joins the Army at the age of 18, and he's stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And as soon as I clicked that, my notes went away. After he was in the Army for a while, he got special ops training, and he did some sort of special op in South America. Like he went active duty, and he had all this special ops training, and he did some sort of special op in South America, and there was some sort of mess up. I don't know exactly what the mess up was. I can't find it anywhere. I asked my husband to see if he could like dig into like military records and whatnot, but apparently that's just not a thing. So, I forgot to turn off my phone, so we'll do that for now. And So he gets kicked back down to the reserves. And I thought that was unusual. Like, if he messed up that bad, why wouldn't they just kick him out of the military altogether? But according to Mr. Zed, that's kind of normal. Like, if he was special ops, or if he was reserved to start with and then went to special ops and then messes up some sort of special operation, he got kicked back to reserve. So he traveled around a lot for training, and he was stationed in different areas. Like, his main hub was Fort Bragg, and interestingly enough, a lot of these crimes ended up after the fact. After he got caught, got tracked back to where he was like stationed or where he was doing training. So he would like get sent somewhere for 6 weeks to do training, and like 3 McDonald's in the areas would get robbed. The way he robbed these McDonald's is very interesting. I think he took his special ops training and took it a little too seriously, because instead of just like walking into the place and robbing the place, he would cut a hole in the roof, and then either just after closing or right before they open would like drop down from the ceiling and like surprise everybody and rob the place. According to witnesses, like the people who were being robbed, these fast food employees, he never actually pointed his gun at anybody. He would use a 22 caliber rifle for most of these robberies, and he would keep it at like the low ready position. So he never actually pointed at anybody. He was very polite. He would say please and thank you. When he would rob the places, at the end of the rob, he would like have everybody get down on the ground, and then have like the manager or one of the employees get the money from the safe and the registers, and then he would like corral everybody into one of the walk-in coolers, which, I mean, if you've been watching my channel for a little while now, you know the last time we dealt with a fast food walk-in cooler, it was not quite as pleasant. That was the Brown's Chicken Massacre case. So if you want to check that out, it's on my channel. It's a couple of episodes back. So, that one was gruesome, which is that case actually is one of the reasons why I wanted to do something with less murder this time. Anyway, so he drops down. He actually asks the employees like to get like if they want to get their coats, because they might be in the cooler for a while. So he lets them get their jackets and stuff. One of the employees said that he joked around with them, like as he was putting them into the cooler, he's joking around with them and says the quote. I wrote it down here. The quote was, "Oh, well, at least you're going to get the rest of the day off." So nice guy, aside from the robberies, nice guy. And so this is how he gets caught. So after doing, one of the things I wanted to mention is like, there was several McDonald's that he actually didn't rob for some reason or another, but he was there. Like, they found like tool marks on the roof or whatever, but they never ended up getting robbed. But like afterwards, there'd be like a roof leak or something, and the roofers would go up there and be like, "It looks like somebody was trying to cut through your roof." So that's weird. And then one of them he actually broke all the way into, and then realized it was Thanksgiving Day, so nobody was there, so he couldn't rob the place. So he actually cut the hole, broke into the place, and didn't get anything because it was Thanksgiving. Let's do this. And so the reason he gets caught is now because he's in South Carolina, and he ends up robbing a place at night, like a McDonald's. These are all McDonald's. And he ends up robbing a place at night, and then here it is. Let's open that up. He ends up robbing a place at night, and then that very next morning, he goes to rob another place. So this is just a clipping from a newspaper article that shows the different places that he robbed. So you can see it's all over California, because, you know, that's where he's from, and he did spend a lot of time there. And then all of these places on the East Coast are different places that he was stationed or did training at. So he robs this place at night, gets away, and then the very next morning he robs another McDonald's. Well, there's police already in the area because it was it was the next town over, but it was only a few miles away. So there's a lot of police activity in the area because of that. And he doesn't click the freezer door. So he's again very polite. He lets the employees get their jackets before he locks them into the cooler. It wasn't a freezer, it was a cooler. And then normally his MO would be to get away and then stop at a payphone and call the police and tell them, hey, this place was just robbed and the employees are locked in the cooler, so they weren't just stuck there forever. Which is, I mean, like I said, nice guy, very nice guy. I don't want to say he's a nice guy because obviously, he's a criminal, don't commit crime. But as far as criminals go, he was not as bad as, say, the guy from the Brown's Chicken Massacre. Those are bad dudes. Anyway, so when he closes the refrigerator door, the big walk-in, it doesn't click all the way. So the employees are able to call the cops a lot faster. So he's escaping and he parks away from the restaurant and then goes to get to his car. But he parked in a church parking lot, behind the McDonald's. There was this big open field and then a church all the way on the other side. So as he's running through the field, the cops get there and corner him, and he actually says to the cops, let's see. Oh, as he's getting arrested, he gives up immediately once the cops catch him. And he says to the local police, he's like, you guys did a good job today. He's complimenting the police as they're arresting him, which I thought was interesting. There was an interview that I saw, and a McDonald's executive was joking around about it too. After they caught him, the McDonald's executive says in this interview, well, at least he's brand loyal. So there's a lot of characters in this story. The McDonald's guy, this guy, the cops were all very impressed with how much he got away with this before he got caught. Okay, so he gets caught. He gets sentenced to 45 years in prison. 45 years. Keep in mind, he never hurt anybody. He was, not that it counts towards your mitigating circumstances that you're polite, but he was very nice. He was just robbing to rob. I don't think he needed the money necessarily. He was just kind of addicted to getting away with it. He wanted that special ops feeling, and I guess this did it for him. So 45 years, which personally, my opinion is that that's a bit much for robbing McDonald's. I understand that it was a lot of McDonald's. However, I've seen cases here in the United States where people get 20 or get sentences where they are eligible for parole after 20 years. This guy gets 45 years. It seems a little bit ridiculous. But don't fret for our anti-hero here, because on June 15th, 2004, by the way, he gets caught on May 20th, 2000, and then the court case takes about a year or whatever. He gets sentenced to 45 years in jail. So he's in prison. He's in the Brownwater Correctional Institution, Brown Creek Correctional Institution for about 4 years before he decides, look, I got to get out of here. 45 years is a bit ridiculous, so I need to figure something out. So he gets himself a job in the machine shop, I wish Might Be Wrong was here, because apparently this prison has jobs where the prisoners do jobs for pennies on the dollar of what you would make it a normal job, I guess to buy their honey buns or whatever. This was in 2000, so maybe even cigarettes back then, I'm not sure. But they're making actual goods that get sold to like stores and stuff. So in this metal shop, they're making bed frames and they're also making like metal cabinets. So he gets a job in the metal shop and notices, like, the whole time he is keeping track of like the frequency that the guards change shifts, what trucks are in and out of the prison on a daily basis, stuff like that. So he gets a job in the machine shop, and he notices that there's this truck that comes every day to pick up the stuff that they're manufacturing at this prison. So they're manufacturing these bed frames and these shelving units and cabinets and stuff. And it's like a big box truck or whatever to come to get the stuff. And he notices up underneath the truck, on the truck frame, there's like space in between the frame and the bottom of the box truck. So he cuts a piece of plywood. First of all, he gets up under there somehow and measures exactly like the specs of underneath this truck. He cuts a piece of plywood, the exact size and shape it needs to go underneath the bed of this truck. And hold on, there was another thing I wanted to show you guys. I don't know, maybe I didn't save it. Anyway, so he spray paints it black, and then on the ends, like where his head and feet would be, he gets cardboard, also spray paints it black, and like puts, like corrugated cardboard, like inside the corrugations of the cardboard, he puts magnets. So on the ends where his head and feet, like he's laying in this little space, this little cubby hole underneath this truck, and he puts cardboard on either end. So it looks like he basically created an optical illusion, like a magician would, to get out of prison. He waits until it's a rainy day for a couple of reasons. First of all, the guards aren't quite looking as hard on a rainy day because they're outside in the rain. They have those mirrors on a stick to look underneath the truck, and they also have dogs. Also, the sniffer dogs don't pick up scent as well when it's raining out. They still can. I don't know if you guys know this, but our dog Fritz that passed away last October was an explosive detection dog, and he could still pick up scents. However, just not as well. And he'd have a higher miss rate when it's raining out than when it's not. So he waits till it's raining. This is, this is June 15th, 2004. He gets up underneath the truck. Now, leading up to this escape, this is almost as good as the Alcatraz, not as good, but almost as good as the Alcatraz escape. He makes civilian clothes for himself. So he takes a prison shirt, like a button-up shirt, long sleeve button-up shirt, cuts the sleeves off, and where the numbers would be on his chest, he sews some sort of patch on there, like where the numbers would be. And then he takes a pair of prison pants, obviously same color as the shirt, but he gets the shirt very faded and the pants brand new, so it appears to be different colors, even though it's the same color. And he hems them into shorts, takes the leftover material and sews pockets on the side so they look like cargo shorts. So now he's on the outside wearing a white t-shirt with it almost looks like a vest over it with a patch on it, like with the cut off sleeves of the prison shirt, and cargo shorts. And it doesn't look weird because he made sure they were different colors or different shades of the same color, I guess, which I thought was kind of a little bit genius. I see Major Victory joined us. Hello, Major Victory. Did I miss anybody else? I don't think so. Nice of you to join us today. I appreciate everyone who comes and watches. Anyway, so this is not an actual picture of him. However, there was a Dateline or one of those shows like that where they reenacted. And I did a quick screen grab of that because it kind of gives you an idea of what he looked like, what he was wearing. And he hitchhikes to Charlotte from there. So he's wearing these cargo shorts, and then you see how it looks like almost like a vest with the t-shirt underneath. So that's kind of the look he was going for. Not a great look, although it was 2004, so cargo shorts, I guess, were still in style back then, so it kind of fit in. Anyway, so instead of, like, when they started this manhunt or whatever, they were thinking that he's going to try to go back to California, where he's from, or somewhere else other than there. But, oh, no, not Jeffrey. Instead, he decides to hitchhike, from the prison, which is right here. So this is the prison, and instead of like getting the heck out of there, like as far as he could go, he decides he's just going to go to Charlotte. And he ends up getting dropped off right in front of this shopping center on Independence Independence Expressway, I guess it says. I thought it was Independence Boulevard, but he gets dropped off right here in front of this shopping center. And this shopping center at the time was a Toys R Us store. Now, quick little tidbit. When he gets out of prison, the first person to pick him up while he's hitchhiking happens to be a teacher at the prison. It was like a guy who teaches GED classes at the prison. Of course, this guy didn't know Jeffrey Manchester because he didn't need to take GED classes. He was very intelligent, so he obviously had already graduated school, so he wasn't in GED classes or whatever. But I thought it was funny that, like, how dumb, like, do you feel afterwards if you're the one, like, you work at the prison and you're the one that picks the guy up and takes him. I guess he hitched a couple of rides. This guy didn't take him all the way, but he got him. He was that first ride to get him, like, away from the actual prison. Anyway, so he goes into the Toys R Us store as like a shopper. He just goes in. His whole plan is to rob this Toys R Us store eventually, but he goes in as a shopper. This is where the story actually starts to get good. I know in the description of this, I said, you know, the guy robbed a bunch of McDonald's and escaped or whatever. This is where it gets very interesting. He gets dropped off at here, and here it is. So at the time, this over here was a Toys R Us, and this was a Circuit City. This is 2004. Circuit City's out of business. He goes into this Toys R Us store as a shopper and just never leaves. The dude never leaves. He finds a little spot in the back of the bike racks. Apparently the bike racks were up against a wall, and there was like a little cutout of a space where he could fit in there to sleep. So he stayed in there for a couple of weeks. And at night he would... Okay, so at night he found the manuals for the surveillance system and the alarm system. He became an expert on the operations of the surveillance system and the alarm system. Like, he could go in and like loop the videos so they wouldn't see him on the surveillance tape the next day. He could like set the alarms to where he would change the alarms to where they wouldn't go off unless the door opened or something like that. Anyway, he figured out the manager's passwords and changed employees' schedules to fit his needs. Like I said, he was going to end up robbing this place. Like, that's his whole reason he's there, is that he's scoping out the place in order to rob it later on. He lived off of, like, at Toys R Us, they had like snacks like Doritos and stuff like that, and also baby food, lots and lots of baby food. So for his main sustenance while he was there, he ate like jars of baby food. He rode bicycles around the store to exercise. he set up baby monitors in his hidey hole so he could keep an eye on the employees and stuff while he was in there. Like, he could keep an eye on what's going on outside of there while he was in there. So he, like, those baby monitors with the screens or whatever, he set up a couple of those. It gets more intricate in a minute. Like, it gets so much better in a minute. So this whole time he's like underneath the bike rack, or like in that little space underneath the bike rack, very small. He figures out, because he's obviously looking at the employee schedules and stuff, that leading up to Christmas, employees are going to be there 24/7. I don't know if anybody's ever worked in retail around Christmas. I, as you may or may not know, was an employee of Walmart. And for sure, around Christmas, the toy department is insane. And there's people there 24/7. Stocking shelves, doing inventory, like whatever the heck it is they do. So schedules go into 24/7. So he, around September, realizes this is going to be happening soon. I got to figure something else out. So he realizes that this Circuit City over here, this is empty because it's Circuit City. Kind of funny that both of these places are now out of business. I wonder if he has anything to do with that. Like, I wonder if, like, he has a secret tunnel to a Radio Shack or a Blockbuster Video or something like that too. I crack myself up sometimes. Anyway, so he ends up creating a hole in the demising wall in between the two stores, and he gets into this abandoned Circuit City. Now, in this Circuit City, he finds himself another little hidey hole underneath their hidey hole. I said hidey hole. Hidey hole underneath the staircase, which is about 10 feet long and about 7 feet wide. So it's a pretty good sized room under there. It's like slanted because it's underneath a staircase, but he creates a door in there. He paints it to look exactly like the outside of the wall, so you can't see it from the outside unless you're really looking for it. Like, it's like a secret room under there. In there, once they end up finding the place, they find a bed, like a twin-size mattress on the floor with Spider-Man sheets. This guy had an affinity for Spider-Man. He had Spider-Man posters up in there. He had Spider-Man 2 movie. He had like little Spider-Man figurines. He really liked Spider-Man a lot, which is interesting, like, because he used to drop in from the roof of McDonald's. So, you know. He ends up upgrading his surveillance system to 8. He's got 8 baby monitors in there, like looking at different parts of the Toys R Us. So he's got 8 different baby monitors set up. He's got like a whole wall of little baby monitor, like the screens. He's got himself a TV. He's got a PlayStation. He's got a DVD player. He ends up redirecting a heating and air vent. So he's got heat and air conditioning inside his little space. He split a water pipe, so he's got running water in there as well. He's got a little mini basketball hoop set up in there as well. So around October, so this is September, I guess, or around there, when he ended up moving over to the Circuit City. And still at night, he's still able, he leaves the little the hole open so he can go back and forth in between the Toys R Us and the Circuit City. So he can go into the Toys R Us, like, to get in and out, because he was going in and out at this point. So he could go in and out the front of the store without anybody noticing, and then end up in his little spot at Circuit City. In October, he joins, there's a place it was called Crossroads Presbyterian Church. And it's just right around the corner from here. It's now called, this is the church right here. It's now called Ben Salem Presbyterian Church, but at the time it was called Crossroads, and it's right here. So this is the store that he was hiding at, and he joins this church. He attends Wednesday night Bible study every single week. He went to, like, there was some sort of singles event he went to. He participated So leading up to Christmas, this church does a big toy drive. And amazingly enough, he donated the most toys to the church's toy drive that year. Like he donated thousands of dollars of toys to this toy drive. Gee, I wonder where he got them from. Like, he didn't buy these toys. Like, let's be honest. Okay, so while he's at the singles event at this church, and he actually is going to, like, he joins the church. It's not like he's just like hanging out. He actually joins this church. So he met this girl named Lee at the singles event, and they were seriously dating until he got caught. Like, they were boyfriend and girlfriend. He hung out with she had 3 kids from like a previous marriage, and he would like hang out with her kids. He would shower them with gifts. Again, like, very generous thief, I have to say. Like, he just would, whatever they wanted, like whatever the kids' desire was, they would get from mom's new boyfriend. At the time, he went by the name John Zorin. So mom's new boyfriend, John, like, all they would have to do is like ask him, like, oh my gosh, I really want this new PlayStation game. And the next day they would have it. So very generous guy. And she actually, during an interview, had said that one of the things she really liked about him was his generosity, which at the time she didn't know, that's what was going on, obviously. So she at one time inquired, like, why can't we ever go back to your place? So this is what he tells her. We can't go back to my place because I have a secret government job. Like, I work for the government. It's very secret. And my living situation right now is a very sterile, like, office-like environment. So we should just hang out at your place, which, like, I guess you can't really bring your date back to your Spider-Man hidey hole, like, inside of the abandoned Circuit City. That's probably not going to go over well. So during this time, this is all in between September, and he ends up getting caught in January. But he gets his teeth fixed at a local dentist, but then he realizes, oh crap, they have my dental records on file now. So what am I going to do about that? So instead of just like breaking into the place and stealing his dental records, he burns the dental office down to the ground, like to ashes. So he burns down a dental office, all because he doesn't want his dental records on file. And really, does he think that an escaped person, they're going to go to every local dentist office? Like, how many dentist offices are there over the whole country? Like, they're not going to go to every dental office to have them compare dental records. Like, unless it's a dead body or something, I just don't see that happening. So that was, I mean, kind of unfortunate that he would do that. Hopefully they were insured. I don't know, but it just seems kind of dumb. Let me look at the chat for a minute before we get into the next part. I mean, yeah, we all have thought about burning down. And like, usually when I'm in the chair while they're drilling, I think to myself, I should really burn this place down. You're absolutely right, PJ. Yeah, thief with a heart of gold. It really did sound like it. He was a thief with a heart. Like, between the witness testimonies about like how nice he was when they were being robbed, like, people would come out of being robbed and be like, yeah, I really like that guy. He was a really good guy. Like, how do you come out of being robbed at gunpoint? He didn't point the gun, but being robbed with a gun, and like come out on the other side and be like, yeah, that guy was pretty funny. I like that guy. But that's just the kind of guy he was. He like had one of those personalities where people just, he didn't want to hurt anybody. Like, he doesn't really, there's only one person he really hurts, like actual physically hurts in this whole story. It's coming up here in a minute. And in my opinion, it was that person's fault. Anyway. Okay, so back to my story. So during this time, he's planning on robbing this Toys R Us the whole time. Like, that's the whole reason he's in there. He's like casing the joint. So he's gonna rob the Toys R Us. But But he realizes one thing he doesn't have that he's had for every other robbery is a gun. So he's like, crap, I need to get a gun. So what he ends up doing is he ends up getting, this is the only picture I could find of the hidey hole, and it's this picture right here. And it's underneath stairs, and that's it. That's the whole thing. I really wanted to find like an artist rendition of it, or like there's got to be like crime scene photos somewhere. I couldn't find it. I searched high and low on the internet. I had other people searching on the internet for me. Could not find anything about it, or any photos of it or anything like that. Okay, so he needs a gun. Stay on track, Katie. What are you doing? So he robs a pawn shop, and he ends up doing the same thing that he's done at all the McDonald's. He waits till the middle of the night. He drops in through the ceiling. He steals 4 handguns and leaves. But they, like, at the time, they have no idea. Like, they find this out after he gets caught, because they have no idea, like, who robbed the place. All right, so now we're to the point where he's going to do his big plan, his final hurrah, where he's going to steal a bunch of money from Toys R Us and then get the heck out of town. Like, this is his plan. He's got this girlfriend. He belongs to the local church, the Presbyterian church, and he really could have just like blended into society. I think changed his appearance somehow, maybe gained a bunch of weight or dyed his hair or something, and just blended in with society. But he decides he doesn't want to do that. Instead, he's going to rob the Toys R Us. So, December 26th, 2004, he, like his other robberies, surprises the workers in the Toys R Us, and he gathers them all into one area. He makes them all lay down on the floor, and there happens to be before that, surprises the workers, has them all lay down on the floor. This is the day after Christmas. So he waits till this day because it's like everybody was off on Christmas, but they hadn't made the deposits yet from the big Christmas rush. So there's like a lot of cash in the store. $15,000 is what he ends up getting from this robbery. So he has everybody lay on the floor. 2 of the employees get away. Like, you have to remember, like at McDonald's, there's like 5 to 7 employees there. That's easy to wrangle. Toys R Us has a lot more employees, especially right around Christmas. Like, they probably had extra employees there, like, because of like cleaning up after Christmas. The store, I've worked in retail. The store after Christmas is a wreck. Like, you have to have extra people there to clean it up and get it back to looking like normal, and like restock the shelves and take all the Christmas displays down, like all that sort of stuff. So there's extra employees there, and 2 of the employees get away and call the cops almost immediately. And this surprises him. He's not expecting the cops to be there that quick. So an off-duty sheriff's deputy is the first one on scene. So she's off duty. She happens to hear the call, gets there right away, and tries to apprehend him. He punches her in the face. This is the only person that he ever actually physically hurt that I can tell from the stuff that I've researched. So he punches this woman in the face, which is another reason why we shouldn't have women cops. But I digress. Like, knocks her to the ground, punches her in the face, knocks her to the ground. She's like no longer a threat. But in the meantime, while all this is happening, the cops are surrounding the building. Like, they're getting there. The cop cars are rolling up. They're getting there. What he does, and he ends up getting away from this day, but he ends up getting caught in the long run, and we'll get into it. But he ends up getting away because he goes to the store. Like, his little pass through was in the back, like it was towards the back of the store. So he goes to the back door, opens the door, which triggers like an alarm, like when you open that back door, an alarm goes off. So he triggers the alarm, then goes back through his tunnel to the Circuit City and hides out in his little hidey hole. Meanwhile, the cops are like, think that he went out the back door because he's not in the store. They check the whole store. So they check the whole store. He's not there. So they set up a perimeter, like in the neighborhood. He gets away. Clean gets away. Like, they have no idea where he is. Meanwhile, he's probably playing PlayStation, watching a movie, playing with his little Spider-Man figurines in his little hidey hole that he set up with the air conditioning and running water, by the way. So this was December 26th. So they're processing the scene, obviously. This guy got away. They're trying to figure out who does it. So there's like... they are, processing the whole scene, going through the place inch by inch. They find his little passageway. They follow it through the Circuit City. They end up finding his room that he built. And they end up finding his room that he built and like try to take fingerprints. They don't find any fingerprints except for one. And ironically enough, they found the fingerprint on a DVD case of the movie Catch Me If You Can. Like, this is not even a joke. Like, he had the movie Catch Me If You Can, and that's where they found his fingerprint. Obviously, he's an escaped prisoner, so his fingerprints are in the CODIS database, or what, they know who he is immediately then because they have his fingerprint. So right away they put out to the, like, in the area, like all over the local news, all in the area and stuff. They put out wanted posters, like, this is the guy that robbed the Toys R Us. We need to find him immediately. Like, please help us find him. And it gets around to the church people, and the church people call up the hotline or whatever, and they're like, no, you got the wrong guy. You have a picture of John Zorin, our friend from church. Like, he's a great guy. He donated all this stuff to the toy drive. Like, how could he possibly be the guy that you're looking for? Like, there's no way. And they convince them, like, no, this is the guy. Like, they're like, okay, well, he's dating, what's her name? Lee. He's dating Lee. So the church people point them to the direction of his girlfriend. They interview his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like, there's no way. That's not... Uh-oh. The video I was going to show is no longer available? That's not good. Sorry. Hold on, there's a video that I want to show. Here it is. This is a horrible video, but it's the only version of it I could find. So they find Lee, and the only way to convince her is they showed her this segment from America's Most Wanted, and then she's like, oh crap, you're right, that's him. So I'm gonna play this segment from America's Most Wanted. It's only six whole minutes long. However, this is the only video that I have to show you guys today, so we're gonna play it in full. The audio is awful. I apologize for that. But it's the only version of it that I could find. I really think that somebody like videotaped their TV with their phone or something to get this. But like I said, we'll go with it, and just let me know in the chat if it's like too loud, or, sometimes with bad audio, if it's too loud, it hurts. So just let me know.
You just met Jeffery Manchester, a guy who cops strongly believe is the rooftop robber, one of the most elusive crooks of all time. When we left the story, he was behind bars and plotting his next move. A master at breaking in, he was going to see if he was any good at breaking out. Cops say Manchester's first step in his escape plan was getting a job inside the metal plant. That gave him close access to the prison's delivery trucks. And it allowed him to go ahead with step 2, cutting down a piece of 3/4-inch plywood, painting it black, and wedging it between the frame rails on the bottom of a delivery truck. Police say Manchester then stocked up on one other important escape item, bubble gum.
He told the inmate that he chewed gum, and if he was ever out in the public or anything like that, he could chew gum and blow bubbles, and he wouldn't look suspicious.
June 15th, Manchester had just finished his shift at the metal plant. Cops say Manchester had planned the escape for weeks. He had managed to stick the plywood in place underneath the truck. He'd also stashed a change of clothes. And he managed to sneak in one more thing. A piece of cardboard he painted black with magnets attached to it. The cardboard with the magnets taped to it was attached to the truck, Manchester was hidden from the view of the guards. Guards who inspected each and every delivery truck as they drove off.
Have a good day.
At 3:30, the truck left the prison. Manchester was hoping his ride to freedom would take him as far away from Brown Creek as possible. But there was one problem. The driver wasn't making a long-distance delivery. He was merely headed to an administration building just beyond the prison walls.
There. Manchester. Manchester. Anybody see Manchester? The unit started their head count at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was at that time they verified that they was missing an inmate.
Master Control, I have an inmate missing in Housing Unit 1D.
At the time it left, there would be no incoming or outgoing traffic into the parking lot area.
Corrections officers decided to check Manchester's locker to see if he had left behind any clues. But the only thing he left behind was a message via the Three Stooges. Manchester had scribbled me under Mo and DOC for Department of Corrections pointing toward Larry and Curly.
I think it was his just little way of saying, I got you. You can't outsmart me, I've outsmarted you.
Shortly after the escape, Manchester changed into his stashed street clothes and was lucky enough to be picked up by a passing automobile. Little did he know the driver was the prison's math teacher. Fortunately for Manchester, he wasn't in any of the teacher's classes.
I had never seen him before. He said that he'd gotten stranded and he needed a ride into Charlotte.
I'm not going that way. I could run you up to a gas station just right up the road, though.
Okay, that'll be great.
The math teacher dropped Manchester off at a nearby gas station. The next day, he saw Manchester's face on the news and called the police. He realized he got off lucky.
My wife has told me that if I do pick up another hitchhiker, if I survive the hitchhiker, she'll kill me.
Cops learned that Manchester later hitched a ride from a trucker to Charlotte. He hasn't been seen since.
Now that he's escaped from prison, he's been convicted. He has a lot of time to do. He has nothing to lose, and he is very dangerous.
Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Manchester is described as a loner. He was in the Army and keeps himself in good shape. Friends say he's a huge NBA fan and lives and dies with the fate of the Sacramento Kings. Manchester's from California, and police believe he may be hiding there tonight. If you've seen Jeffrey Manchester, call us now at 1-800-CRIME-TV. want to grab Manchester tonight, but cops think he could be getting more and more dangerous, so please watch out. And also watch out for this. Manchester is very vain about his hair, and he's losing it. So cops believe he may have spent some of his stolen money on hair plugs. So let's grab Manchester quick so he can watch his hair turn gray in his prison cell. Now stay with us, we'll be right back.
Okay, so I just realized that can you guys hear me? Yes, you can. I just realized that I never downloaded Discord on this computer yet. So this is going to be an issue for call-ins. And I'm trying to, I don't remember my password, so I'm trying to reset my password and get it downloaded. I think this is not going to work. So what I'm going to do for call-ins today is if somebody wants to actually call my phone, I'll put you on speaker. I think several of you have my phone number if you want to do that. But keep that in mind, and we're not going to do it just yet. But let me know if you do want to call in, and we'll do that in a little bit. So let me tell you how he ends up getting caught. So once Lee sees this America's Most Wanted video, they show it to her online, and of course, if it's on the internet, of course it's true. So she's like, "Oh crap, I'm dating a serial robber. What the heck?" So it turns out he had scheduled a date with her that night. It was her 40th birthday party, or her 40th birthday. They had some sort of plans to go out that night. So she lets the cops know, like, "Yeah, we're meeting up tonight," and he ends up showing up at her house to get her for this date. I don't know how he was going to pick her up for the date because he didn't have a car. I guess just meet her for the date, and maybe she was going to drive or whatever. But he shows up at her house with a birthday gift and flowers and the whole 9 yards. He doesn't even end up getting inside or getting to see her because the cops are there waiting for him and take him into custody. He ends up going back to jail. He gets sentenced to, he had 45 years before, now he's got 47. So it really just wasn't that much more for all of this, which is kind of crazy. He burned down a dentist office and robbed a Toys R Us. He escaped from prison. Like, let's think about the extra charges that are added here. He escapes from prison, which I think is not too much more time added, but it is still more time added. But he burns down a dental office. He robs the pawn shop. He's a felon in possession of firearms. Like, there's another charge. There's got to be some sort of charge for, like, living in the Toys R Us, I would think. Anyway, he ends up getting 47 years, and he is sent back to prison. Now it's federal charges because he escaped. I think the escaping part and the felon. Anyway, it ends up being federal charges. So he's in a different prison somewhere up in the Northeast somewhere. Anyway, so that's the end of the story. I thought it was a great story. I thought it was going to be a quicker story, although we're already an hour in and we haven't even started calls yet. But does anybody want to call in and talk about this case? Unfortunately, my Discord is not working, so that's not going to work. But like I said, several of you know my phone number, and we can do it that way. And if my husband's listening, I know he was going to talk about, or he had talked about maybe wanting to talk about the Army stuff and how you get demoted or stuff like that. So if I thought somebody was texting me in order to call in, but it was my mom telling me that I need to lift my chin up higher when I'm talking. So thanks, Mom. Is that better? Better? Okay. Anyway. I love Mom so much, and my mom happens to be the best one out there. So I don't care what any of you say. My mom's the best mom. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Okay. Yeah, I think that probably is copyrighted, but like PJ was saying, the only thing that'll happen is I can't put ads on this, and I think in order to even have ads at all, I need 20,000 views or something like that. I'm not even close. So share this stream out, guys. Share it out. Share the replays out for sure. We got to get to that 20,000 views, and so I can get ads. But in the meantime, no one's gonna. I don't think anybody wants to advertise on this channel. I have I think the most views or the most views I ever, 4,000 hours. 4,000 hours and 1,000 followers. So we need 900 more followers, guys. 900 more. And I promise if I ever do get ads, I will not put them in the middle. I'll only... or I'll put them at I hate it when I'm watching something and people throw an ad in the middle of a sentence. I'll make sure there's some sort of stopping point to put an ad because that drives me nuts. So either just at the beginning or somewhere where there's in between part 1 and part 2 of this might have been a good place for the ad. In between the McDonald's robberies and the Toys R Us stuff might have been a good place, but I'm not going to just throw there's this one channel that I was watching that it literally was every 5 minutes. It was a long form video, and it was you remember when you used to be able to see where the ads are? It was the whole thing just peppered with ads the whole time, and it was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just mid-sentence an ad would pop up, and you'd have to hover with your finger to skip the ad. And it's just not an enjoyable watching experience at that point, is it? I can probably do ads the ones where you actually read them. So anyway, I don't know how all that works. I do this because I like to do it, and I think these stories are good, and I think people need to know about them because I think they're fun. They're not... It's hard to say fun. I'm talking about massacres and assassinations and robberies and stuff. But I think they're good stories, and I think I like telling them. And I like that you guys enjoy it as well. So I would probably do it even if there was one person here watching. So Mr. Zed, did you want to come in here and talk about any of this? If so, please let me know. Does anybody want to call in? If not, we're going to end the stream real quick. I know Quest Fanning has my phone number. PJ does. Yo Mama does. Here's PJ calling now. We're going to get PJ on the line. Caller, you're on the air. Uh-oh.
Oh, hey, sorry. I had myself muted.
Okay. Yes. How are you today?
Yeah, great show, by the way. I love the new setup. You can read the chat and everything really well, so it's awesome with the new computer.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, this story was honestly really, really fascinating. But one of the things that I found funny was, people were talking about him being generous. He said he was generous a few times, and I was just thinking, he's kind of generous in the way that the government's generous. Mm-hmm. He's really generous with other people's stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, when he's living in the Toys R Us, it's yeah, kid, I'll bring you anything you want. No problem, but it's nothing off his back. So
exactly, and they had that toy the toy drive for Christmas at his church that he joined, and everyone was just so astounded of how much he donated. Well, of course he did. If I was him, I would have been donating all sorts of stuff too, because you're a bad person, you're doing bad things. And I think what happens is in people's heads, if they do something good, it erases or counteracts somehow the bad that they're doing.
Yeah, the ends justify the means or whatever kind of thing.
Exactly. He thinks he's Robin Hood at this point when he donates all those gifts to the toy drive, Yeah.
What else I think is funny about this is I feel like this is a guy who wasted so much skill. He's doing all this special forces type stuff to break in and out of prisons and do these robberies in a really weird way. But what did you say he ended up robbing? $15,000 total of stuff?
From the Toys R Us, it was $15,000 in just cash that day. So
that's a shopping cart at Toys R Us.
Yeah, I'm sure with all the toys and stuff that he stole leading up to this was just that last robbery was $15,000. But I'm sure with all the toys and stuff and even the stuff that didn't leave the store that he had set up, it seems several, probably a couple of $1,000s worth of stuff in his little 10 by 7 room that he had there, because he had all those baby monitors, he had the PlayStation, TV, DVDs, DVD player, all of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's just funny to me because, like I said, he's got all these obvious skills. He was able to break out of prison, twice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's using it to live the ultimate child fantasy of living in a Toys R Us and eating McDonald's and playing video games. And he's got this like whole Home Alone thing going on at Toys R Us too, which is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, I don't even know if I mentioned it, but one of the things that he did, I may have, it was in my notes, but he would go up on the roof and race remote control cars in the middle of the night. He would climb up on the roof. And
so he's living the 10-year-old boy's fantasy.
Exactly.
As an adult with like special forces skills.
Yeah, and he had all these skills. He could have done such good in the world, but he, and I think what happened is when he got demoted in the army back to reserves or whatever happened in South America, which we don't know, I think it kind of killed his morale a little bit, you know.
Yeah, probably stole toys or something while he's in special forces
in South America.
A pension for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that was good. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up about this, and I just lost it, but good episode, though.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to find something that was not quite as grim and gory as the last couple episodes got pretty dark pretty quick, so.
That's what you actually reminded me of what I was going to say. It's funny because it's a total opposite of the Brown's Chicken Massacre thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's going in, which is weird to me because, like, in the Brown's Chicken Massacre, the guys didn't care about the money. It was literally just about the crime. They were just violent, angry people. Like, they could have gotten the money and gotten away without murdering a bunch of people.
Exactly.
And this guy's the total opposite, where it's like, yeah, I realize this is just about the money. I just want to have, some money to do my life and do things the way I want.
Mm-hmm.
So he's treating everybody polite. He's kind of got this, like, John Dillinger thing going on where, like, if you just look at, like, besides him hitting the police officer and the fire which came later, it just seems like, this is a guy who's, like, super nice, like, hey, it's just about the money, and you can kind of look at him and be like, he's not such a bad guy, like you were saying in the beginning. It's like you kind of get that feel, like, despite the crimes. Yeah. And then, so it's very different, kind of funny. Like, I find crime funny, especially when it's not people getting hurt. So, like, the story is entertaining. Yeah,
and we wonder why the prices are so high at Toys R Us. It's because this guy, or was, I should say in the past tense, were so high at Toys R Us. It's because of all the theft this guy was committing at this one store in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, it was a mutually destructive relationship. Toys R Us steals from everybody that shops there, and then this guy steals from Toys R Us.
Absolutely, yep. Well, I appreciate you calling in. I wish I would have, like I've said in the past, sometimes I have blonde moments. My blonde moment today, I got everything set up. I started yesterday. I got everything set up. I had to redo the whole OBS setup and all that. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah. And I forgot to download Discord onto my new computer. So I appreciate the call in.
And I relate to that because I've had OBS totally updated on me this week, and I didn't realize till after my last stream there was a ton of stuff that got changed. So
yeah.
It's always a constant battle with the tech, so you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I think it keeps getting better every time, and hopefully by the time I do get those ads on here, I'll actually be able to do it smoothly and have my audio right and all of the things. So
yeah, streams are definitely getting better each time, so keep it up.
Thank you so much, and thanks for calling in.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Yep, bye.
All right, so I have Mr. Zed here. Did you want to just step on over? Here, let me move this up.
No, what's your question?
Oh, I thought maybe you wanted to talk about you got to talk into the mic.
What's your question?
About the military stuff and how you get demoted. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
From what it sounds like, what he did was went in reserves, got selected to go into the Special Forces camp.
Mm-hmm. Okay, close.
And then what he ended up doing was screwing up somewhere along the way. Not bad enough to get discharged, but then turned around and got kicked out of the Special Forces aspect of it, and then turning into going back to his reserve unit and then eventually getting processed out like you would normally.
Okay.
Is what it sounds like from what I've been able to do any type of research on.
I think he was actually still in when he got arrested for the robberies, wasn't he? I believe he was, unless you saw something different.
I didn't see anything on that, so that would be on you. Now,
Yeah.
I did have a question for you.
Careful, because it's...
I thought he actually pistol whipped a McDonald's employee at one point.
Oh, he may have. You're absolutely right. I may have missed that in my notes. But now that you mention it, there was a McDonald's employee that tried to be a hero that he did strike at one point. So
And did
there's
he apologize
two
to
people.
him?
He did. He did. He apologized and made sure he was okay, and I think got him an ice pack and everything after he did it. The guy tried to like tackle him or something, and he ended up pistol whipping him.
Yeah, don't tackle the special forces guys.
No, yeah, exactly. Don't tackle Mr. Zed for sure.
I'm gonna
I
go
tried it one
smoke
time.
meats.
It wasn't great. You're gonna smoke what?
The meats.
Oh, thanks for coming in, honey.
Yep.
So hopefully that answers some of the questions. I don't know if there was any. I had questions about the military stuff because I don't know very much about it, but hopefully that little guest appearance helped out with that a little bit. Does anybody else want to call in today? If not, I think we might be wrapping it up. Nope, nobody else is texting me. Nobody else is calling. I appreciate Mr. Zed coming in and also PJ coming in. Next time I'm going to get my Discord set up so we can do an actual call in. And about that surprise guest we have coming in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have an in-house guest, kind of like Mr. Zed just did. But the next time you see me, we will have an in-house guest of Quest Fanning. Who's going to be at my house in a couple of weeks. Now, next week, like I told you guys, we're going to take a week off because we're going to be out of town. I might do some IRL streaming from Michigan. We're going to be in Michigan with a bunch of people, some of whom are in the chat right now. So Mr. Zed and I are both going to be out of town in Michigan. And like I said, there might be some IRL streaming. There might be, I might think of a little crime story to tell. Maybe I'll tell IRL a crime story to my friends that I'm going to be with, and we'll see how that works. I've done the IRL streaming a couple of times. As you guys know, I did that rally. I also streamed a little bit from that Roe versus Wade protest, I guess it was. And then I also did some IRL streaming on Ed's channel a while back as well. I hope you all have a great afternoon. I'm not sure if I'm going to... I switch it to Saturday this time because I thought maybe I'd get a little bit of a bigger audience. So we'll see how those numbers pan out. But it's always going to be on a weekend. Almost always going to be on a weekend. Next time you see me with Quest, it will be during the week because that's when he's going to be here. And we're going to be covering the Long Island Lolita case. I don't know if you all remember that from the 90s, but I wanted to find a case that was from Quest's neck of the woods, and that is, as you know, he is a New Yorker. He's a New Yorker. So we're going to cover that case the next time, and we'll see you soon. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. I want to try to grow this channel, so if you know anybody who likes the true crime stuff and thinks, or that you think that they might find this interesting, share the replay of my stream. They might actually sub, and that makes me very happy. I love those little endorphins I get every time I see a little notification that says new subscriber. So I hope you all have a great afternoon, and thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoyed this case. My outro music, I'm going to play some Know Nothing Steve, and this is, I'm going to play Zena's favorite song, so we'll get that going. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
safari, won't you step in my Ferrari, baby? I'll sashay in the rain till I'm soggy. I sure could use a hobby, come and step into my lobby, baby. My back aches, I still bray like a donkey. My balance getting wobbly, don't you know that I'm a zombie, baby? What can I say? I sang like Pavarotti. I sure could use a hobby, baby. Yeah, you can try to hate, but I'll laugh it off. You try to be the young buck, but I'll pass it off. Is this a pasta date? You should pass the sauce, or else you never should have gotten involved. You can say that Heaven's Gate is for Santa Claus. You'll wait at death's door with your catapult. You'll never change my mind with your daddy, y'all, because our contract is hereby dissolved. You like to share a plate with a cannibal. You even came to wait with your carry-all, preparing for a date with a cannonball. Until it's too late, then you stall. Fast pace, I won't say that I'm sorry. I'm here for the safari, won't you step in my Ferrari, baby? I'll sashay in the rain till I'm soggy. I sure could use a hobby, come and step into my lobby, baby. My back aches, I still pray like a donkey. My balance getting wobbly, don't you know that I'm a zombie, baby? What can I say? I sang like Pavarotti. I sure could use a hobby, baby. What your pastor say, don't be slacking off. You shouldn't celebrate all the shacking up. You're gonna pass away, get your sack of cloth. Don't wait until your daylight's dissolved. You say that you're a victim of passion, dog. I say that you're addicted to patterns, y'all. Until you take a break from the whacking off, you're never gonna know that it's wrong. You'll get some lemons for your aid, you'll just mash them all. Someone to lead the game would be magical. Would you come and save the day, Mr. Samuel? But you don't get King David, you get King Saul. Yeah, fast pace, I won't say that I'm sorry. I'm here for the safari, won't you step in my Ferrari, baby? I sashay in the rain till I'm soggy. I sure could use a hobby, come and step into my lobby, baby. My back aches, I still bray like a donkey. My balance getting wobbly, don't you know that I'm a zombie, baby? What can I say? I sing like Pavarotti. I sure could use a hobby, baby.